I'm Jen, and I'm married to Marcos, who is older than me. Although everything appears to be perfect, I have a secret. I love reading erotic romance novels, something Marcos detests. Our life is good, but our intimate life is lacking in many ways. We live in an upper-middle-class neighborhood, and Marcos works late to maintain our lifestyle, while I take care of the house, go to the gym, and hang out with my friends. Marcos's son Fipe recently moved in with us. He's a handsome, polite young man, but he's very reserved at first. He just seemed shy, but over time I started to feel something different when he was around. It was difficult to start deeper conversations with Phype because he was very closed off, especially regarding his parents' past. He didn't seem to fully accept their separation, even though he was old enough to understand it. Marcos is always busy working late into the night, which leaves me feeling unsatisfied. I'm an active woman who takes care of my body and has a high libido. I took up one of my forbidden books to read one evening while making dinner. I had a strong desire to imagine my husband taking me there in the kitchen, but he was working late as usual, so my thoughts strayed to someone else. Felipe, he was the only male in the house, so even though I knew it was wrong, I went over to smell some of his shirts and pants that were in the laundry out of impulse, hoping to get a sense of intimacy. When I took one of your pants, I felt as though I was losing the feeling. Euphoric to the point of almost exploding, I knew that that was wrong. He is my stepson. He see me as a mother. Reason has returned, leaving a desire. I put everything back and went to the kitchen, and that's when I saw Felipe standing in the kitchen door looking at me in amazement. I was shaking all over. He saw me doing those things and moaning softly while smelling one of your Felipe underwear to break the ice. Said, "Wow, are you up late really? Working." My father has a lot lucky to have a woman like you. I let out a smile, thanking him for the compliment, and I said dinner would be ready in a few minutes, and that Marcos would not have dinner with us night. Felipe is back to your room, and I went to finish of dinner. While I was finishing make meat, I thought the worst. Felipe would tell Marcos everything. I would end up on the street alone and abandoned. After some time cooking, forbidden desires returned. Fipe had caught me doing that with your clothes. Intimate, I just kept imagining him taking me from behind and pushing me against that washing machine with all the strength. I took a cold shower in an attempt to calm myself down, and soon after I called Felipe to join me for dinner. During the meal we didn't exchange a single word, and the silence filled the air until the very end. As usual, Marcos said, "Not tonight, my love." I'm tired. That was eating away at me, and I felt desperate, yearning for someone to take me with intensity, someone who could dominate me. I was already asleep when he arrived home late at night, and I woke up when he kissed me goodnight on the forehead. I impulsively hugged him in the hopes of something more. When the night wore on and I still couldn't fall asleep, I went to the living room to watch TV, which normally helped me doze off more quickly. I heard footsteps coming down the hallway towards the kitchen as soon as I lay down on the couch. When I turned to look, I saw Felipe walking by half asleep, only wearing his pants. Sometimes those nocturnal erections drive me crazy, but I was able to control myself and began touching some parts of my body. After a short while, he finished drinking water and realized I was by myself in the living room. Felipe asked me why I was watching TV so late at night and if his father had arrived. I told him that I couldn't sleep, but Marcos had already come and was smiling and sleeping peacefully. After promising to do anything for me, Felipe sat down next to me right away. His member was constantly looking down and marking a lot of pants. Felipe was sitting on the couch next to me, watching the back of the soap opera. I was already feeling apprehensive about doing that with him when he turned to face me and said, "I saw you with my pants yesterday before dinner." I denied it at the time, saying that he was just making sure they were clean. He laughed, however, and took my hand and put it on your pants, which was pulsing. I could feel the heat take away the primal instinct. He spoke louder, and I couldn't help but go over my stepson. I instantly turned red, and my heart beat faster. After that night, every part of the house was motel, and he did what he wanted with me for hours. I had not been intimate with Marcos for months, so it took some time for him to enter. I wondered where he inherited such a size, and it was really impressive. I had almost forgotten how good newcomers can be at this. Our romance lasted for a very long period. Marcos never suspected anything. The sadness I felt when he went to work turned into joy and a rush of adrenaline that I became addicted to from the very first day. Over time, I grew increasingly close to Felipe. He showered me with lingerie, little gifts, and constantly lavished me with compliments and sweet words, things I had only heard from Marcos. At the beginning of our relationship, the situation took an unexpected turn when my period was late. I rushed to the pharmacy and bought some pregnancy tests. I couldn't believe what was happening. I came home in a panic, went straight to the bathroom to take the test, and to my horror, it was positive. The hardest part to accept was that the baby was Felipe's. I was certain of it since I hadn't been intimate with Marcos for months. After that day, I started avoiding Felipe, telling him that what we had was wrong and that I didn't want to continue. I should never have extended the affair. It was meant to be a one-time thing. After a few days of thinking about how to resolve the situation, I came up with a plan. I waited for Marcos to come home from work and spiked his drink with aphrodisiacs along with a pill to make him more enthusiastic. He waited to effect, and I stayed with him. It was the worst sex of my life. Was so small and dull there was no way to compare. The next morning, I spoke with Marcos and suggested that it would be best for everyone if Felipe moved somewhere else, perhaps to live with friends or in a college dorm, something more suited to his age. I mentioned that he was still struggling with his parents' separation and occasionally spoke negatively about me. Within a few days, everything went according to plan. Although Felipe hesitated at first, I told him that what happened between us was just a pleasant moment and that we could potentially repeat it in the future. When the baby was born, he was a boy who looked very much like Felipe. Fortunately, Marcos also shared some physical traits with the baby, which reassured me. Today, my son has grown up, and I have not had any contact with Felipe since then, except for a few messages we exchanged early on. Marcos told me that Felipe met a woman, married her, and now they have 2 children and live happily abroad. That was the first and last time I cheated on my husband, whom I deeply love, and I hope never to succumb to temptation again.